Guys, welcome to the 15th episode of the Journey for Greatness podcast. And let me tell you something. Today is a milestone podcast for us. We are absolutely jacked up, so excited. Like, I could go on for the next hour about how we're feeling. We got our first guest on the podcast. Like we're popping our podcast cherry for a guest.
Let's go!
We got James Norris, and he wishes, but no, audience, he's not related to Chuck. So, James?
Oh, he's related to Chuck somehow.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, no, we are excited and jacked up, as I said, to have you on the show. So, you know,
let's talk about getting you on the show has been, I mean, even getting you to Diddy's, we're recording this inside Diddy's apartment. You know, we had James come to the apartment, so you're recording off of the same microphone, just to make sure the whole audience knows that, listen, you don't have to have a fancy studio. Like, it is what it is. You just make it happen. So I want to make sure everybody knows about that.
Yeah. And Tom, why don't you kind of brief the audience and tell them how this came about and how we actually got on here? Because it wasn't even...
Yeah. It's a really weird and funny story. No, it was a week ago, yeah. So basically what happened was Diddy had posted, Eric, who obviously is a part of the Journey for Greatness, posted a story. Correct me if I'm wrong, James, but he was making up some, what was it, lemon crusted chicken or something like that? Mustard crusted chicken. Okay, yeah.
And I bet you James makes it better than I do because I'm not a very good cook.
So you know, Diddy's obviously just he's making some chicken, no big deal. Well, James reaches out through the DM and like makes a comment about, hey, love to get that recipe for the chicken. Well, somehow it fell through our cracks. Not that we get hundreds of DMs, we just didn't notice it. Well, I was going back through our Instagram page, and I was going through our DMs, and there was one that was unread, and I was like, what the, how do we miss this? It's not like we get hundreds of them. So I looked back, and it was James's page, it was HandicapableFitness, and it said, hey, let me get that recipe for that chicken. So I was like, hey, let me get with my partner. He was the one that made the chicken, and then James responded back and said basically, hey, love what you're doing. If I can ever be a guest on the podcast, and just told us a little bit about his background. I thought it was a great idea. Talked to Eric. We said, hell yeah. We had a brief conversation. I think it was either Wednesday or Thursday night about setting it all up. So within a span of less than a week, we've got our first guest on the podcast, and we're super pumped up, like Diddy said. And so yeah, that's kind of how it came about.
And it actually works out with. Big shout out to Ken Whittier.
Yes.
Just love that guy.
He's
great trainer. Right, James?
He's absolutely awesome.
Well, yeah, I didn't go into the connection of how James found us, but that was kind of the other connection of how James works out, and we'll get into that as well.
Yeah, so, but I'm actually I'm gonna save that. James has a very absolute inspirational story that he's gonna share with us in a second or two. We're gonna hand the mic over to James, and he's gonna get it going on his story. But I think that anybody that listens to this can grab some inspiration from it. Just how hard he works and his outlook on life and his situation. It definitely takes a special human, a special kind of person to have the mindset that James has and work as hard as he does every day with his situation. So I know that me and Tom have talked, and James, we think that you're an unbelievable person, and how hard you drive every day and stuff, and to get to where you want to be. You definitely have shined a new light in our life by just just getting in contact with you.
Well, that's awesome. I really appreciate that. I don't consider myself special. I'm just an everyday guy, and I just do what I have to do, but if I can help inspire other people, and in some weird way by me living my own life, then I'm all for it. So thank you guys again for having me on here. It's absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
That's the typical legendary answer and response. I'm just a regular person, right? So I mean, there you go. You know, he's a legend right there.
And the one thing I want to add real quick before we get into James's story is kind of the honesty and the just kind of some of the things that he's going to talk about of what Eric and I really envision of what the journey for greatness is acknowledging that, you know, you've had your low points, your valleys in your life, and you've found different strategies or different things to get involved with that, you know, help you to get in a little bit of a more positive situation and feel better about yourself. That was one thing I loved, that you didn't cover up the tough times. You didn't cover it up and say, hey, I've never been through anything tough. I've never had any, you know, dark times. Like, you were open about that. And I think that's a big thing that I want to talk about, that, hey, everybody goes through certain points in their life that you may not be proud of, that defines who you are, and it defines your story. And you shouldn't be ashamed of it, because, you know, it crafts you who you are. And at the end of the day, you can be proud of that, because you will become, you know, better on the other side. And the one thing too, you got a sense of humor, man. You were making us die, laugh, and that's just a good thing, you know what I mean? And I think we all got to remember to have a little bit of fun and laugh and joke around. And, you know, you can't do it with everybody, but when you find somebody that has that, you know, playfulness and sense of humor, you got to run with it. So I'm the same way, so I appreciated that.
Thanks, man. I really do appreciate it. And, you know, the thing about having the sense of humor is that you have to have that, because, you know, there's too much depressing stuff that goes on in the world. And yeah, we could always look to have things be different in life, but you know what? Sometimes it's just not meant to be, so you have to make the best of the situation. And it goes back to the old saying that laughter is the best medicine. So
that's perfect.
I like that. I really like that. That's awesome. That's great. All right. Well, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to hand the microphone over to James, and he's going to get going on his story. And he's going to tell his story, and, you know, wherever it goes, it goes. We're going to talk about this awesome journey that he's been on, and he's going to continue to go. So, James, the floor is yours, buddy.
Okay, awesome. And if you guys have questions, like we said before, please jump in, interrupt. If there's a certain thing you want me to hit on, then please go ahead and do that. So basically, I'm 32 years old. I have cerebral palsy, and I live here in Boston. I was born, quote unquote, normal. Then when I was 2 years old, I went in for a hernia operation, and the doctor didn't tape down the hose that gave me oxygen, and I moved during surgery, and it came out. So my brain was without air for about 5.5 minutes, and that's what caused the cerebral palsy, you know. And it sucks, but at the same time, I kind of, you know, said screw it, you know, this is what it is, and I got to make the best of it, and you know, this is all I've ever known, you know. So for me, it was just one of those things that, you know, it was just one of those things that, you know, I just have to make the best of it, and I have to give it up to my parents, because they never treated me any different. You know, if anything, they held me to a higher standard because of the fact that I was in a wheelchair, and I didn't have use of my left side really too much. There's different levels of CP, and I have a very minor case. There's people that have it less than I do, but most of the time there's speech impediments that are involved. There's drooling problems. The person is 100% reliant upon other people for every little thing. That wasn't me, thank God. You know, and that's the thing. Like I said, my parents never let me get away with anything, and I think that's really kind of shaped me into the person that I am today. You know, but moving forward, that being said, going through school, you know, I was very shy, and I think a lot of that has to do with the CP, because nobody likes to be rejected, but at the same time, I think it's a little bit more enhanced per se when it is that you have a disability, because if you get rejected, somebody's thought process automatically when you have a disability is to say, oh, well, they don't like me, or they don't want to be friends with me because I'm in a wheelchair, and so I was very sheltered, in the sense that I would go to school, I would do my work, I'd come home, and I'd watch sports, and I was okay with that. Now, if you came up and talked to me in the midst of a school day or whatever, I would talk to you back, but I was very sheltered. You never find me out at parties or doing the typical teenage stuff, but that all kind of changed once I met this one particular teacher. She was a study hall teacher of mine, and she, we got to talking and found out that she was also really into sports, so she would tell me about, the Celtics back in the 70s and 80s, and I could really relate to that. And she said, one day when I was in her class, she says, hey, let's go down and talk to the basketball coach. And I said, okay. So he then offered me a position on the team as to keep track of the shot charts and their books and everything. And I did it, and that right there was kind of almost the tip of the iceberg for me, I would like to say, because I was still shy. I would still, go home, do homework, that whole thing. But it kind of like opened me up a little bit. And one day as I got into senior year, she said to me, she goes, hey, are you going to prom? And I said, no. And she goes, why not? I go, because I have sports I have to watch. And she goes, no, that's not an acceptable excuse. You're going. And we went round and round, but I ended up going. I actually ended up taking the captain of the team with me, and she was really gracious, and I don't think she was really into it, but if you talk to her this day, she says that she is. But that itself was another big turning point for me, because it got me out of that shell, and it got me to see that people will accept me for me. And then after that, I went to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. And
let me interrupt just one sec. Just a question here. So this kind of seems like this person right here, your teacher, Mrs. Thur, she was kind of the first one to kind of, I guess you could say, step up and, help you and kind of take a big interest, right?
Yeah, big time. I mean, she just really, was kind of like the parent thing with me about not letting me get away with anything, or pushing me to my limits or stepping out of my comfort zone. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's almost just hearing you kind of say when she said, or when she asked you, hey James, you going to the prom? And you said no, and and she said why? And you said, well, because I have sports to watch. And then she goes to you, well, that's not an acceptable answer. Right there, that just says to me that just almost kind of like your parents, she was holding you to a higher, if not the same standard as everybody else in the class. She wasn't like, oh, okay, I understand. You have CP, I get it. No, she was like, listen, like, that's not an acceptable answer, because that wouldn't be an acceptable answer for everybody else. So, I'm going to treat you just like I would in this class, like I would everybody else, and you're going to go.
Absolutely. And I still talk to her to this day.
That was going to be my next question. So you're still in contact with her?
I still talk to her to this day, and she is one of my biggest supporters, and she actually encouraged me to go to this Connecticut School of Broadcasting, and I did that, and I ended up working in here at a local Boston radio station for about 4 to 5 years doing production. Absolutely loved it. Had so much fun. Got to meet a lot of different people. Well, a couple of years into it, I got the opportunity to head out to California to work at a production company. So I uprooted everything because here I am thinking, okay, well, this is going to be the next step in my career type of thing. Who knows who I'll possibly bump elbows with, and this will be the next step in my career. Well, I got out there and I worked for this production company for about 2 months, and it just didn't work out for several different reasons. But I had already signed a year lease on a house, so I was kind of stuck, and the public transportation out there was pretty much non-existent at this time for really anybody, but specifically people in wheelchairs and people with disabilities. So I was stuck in the house a lot. And don't get me wrong, my family and my friends that were around would, take me out places or help me with things. But let's face it, they had lives to live, so I was stuck in the house, and that was a really difficult thing for me because I'm the type of person, I'm always on the go. I always have to do something, So I turned to alcohol, not so much intentionally. I didn't say, oh, well, I'm gonna start drinking. Because let's face it, I worked in radio, and in radio you have 2 to 3 bar gigs a week typically, and you're interacting with fans, so you're drinking. But this kind of took on a whole new realm, and I was drinking 7-8 beers a night, and I knew deep down inside that wasn't who I was, but I also knew that I wasn't happy with the direction of my life. Well, my uncle has an RV rental business out there, and occasionally I would go in and I'd help out just in the office to keep myself busy, and one day he said to me, he says, he goes, have you met the new cleaning person for the RVs? And I go out there, and it's this tall, gorgeous blonde. So I'm 20-something years old. I'm going, who is this? So I, introduced myself, and we quickly hit it off and became friends. We're always hanging out. Well, we ended up, like I said, always hanging out. We'd go to church together. We'd do everything, and she was pretty much into a healthy lifestyle in terms of eating right and doing that whole thing. So it kind of rubbed off on me a little bit in the sense that, because when I was drinking, as many of us know, that when you drink, you tend to pack on the pounds, and you pack on the pounds quick. And it's not good for anybody else, but one thing I forgot to mention with having CP is that I get around on my knees. So any extra weight that I put on is really going to affect me and inhibit me from being able to do things. And I noticed that when I would go up the stairs, I'd be, so out of breath and sweating like I just ran the Boston Marathon, So I kind of said, okay, I have to do something. And I just started to make little changes to where I would, eat right. I'd eat the Walmart salads because I thought, okay, those are kind of healthy, and making those small changes. Well, after the year was up in California, I came back to Boston because I had more connections.
So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, just getting to thinking too. You had the intention of, this is my thought process when you're talking about your story, right? You had the intention of going out there for broadcasting, but I guess you could say the guy up above, God, had the intention of you going out there, not for broadcasting, but for something, to meet this girl, because it seems like if you didn't meet this girl and you guys didn't start hanging out and start talking about the nutrition, this whole liking of fitness and working out and eating right wouldn't have happened, huh?
Absolutely.
So everything happens for a reason.
I 100% agree with that. And I tell people, they say, do you regret going out to California because, you had your bouts with alcohol and you fell into a little bit of financial debt and that sort of thing? And I say absolutely not, because it opened up my eyes to so many different things, not just the fitness, but a whole different kind of life, that I can now say that I'm a better person because of that. So I ended up coming back, and I was still kind of heavy. I think at my heaviest I was 185, I want to say, and a 38 waist, but I always wore my pants a little big. But I kind of started to notice that they were getting a little snug on me. So I joined LA Fitness, not knowing, anything about fitness or working out. My whole goal in doing that was to just lose a couple pounds. Well, I ended up, meeting a trainer. He kind of showed me the ropes a little bit, and I began to lose the weight, and I saw my body changing. I saw that I was then able to do more, and it kind of became an addiction or a lifestyle type of thing. And it got to the point to where, I went full-fledged into it. I weigh out all my food. I do all this meal prep. I'm basically a meat man, for lack of a better for lack of a better word. I'm like the Planet Fitness guy. I lift things up. I put things down.
Oh my God.
But then also going back a little bit, when I moved back to Boston, I was fortunate enough to get my job back at the radio station. Well, I worked there again for another year. Well, they ended up getting bought out by a company in Florida, and there was massive layoffs and everything. So fitness took even more spotlight in my life, to say. It came more to the forefront, and I was able to focus on going to physical therapy, doing those things that I wasn't able to do before, because of insurance issues, because we live in this great state of Massachusetts that's absolutely awesome for so many different reasons, but also the work schedule wasn't really conducive to doing that. Well, fast forward now, my old boss trains at Mike Boyle's Strength and Conditioning in Woburn, and he's approached me one day and he says, "Hey James," he says, "I've seen the progress you've made working at LA Fitness." He goes, "What about this Mike Boyle's Strength and Conditioning?" And I said, "Well, of course, it's one of the state-of-the-art gyms in America, but it's expensive. I'm not working right now." And he goes, "Well, just come on in, meet with one of the trainers, and kind of see what happens." So I said, okay. So I went in, met with Ken. We kind of hit it off, and I told him a little bit of my story, and he goes, "You know what? Let's work out." And we ended up working something out, and that was this past December. And I'm proud to say that now I'm just a couple weeks away from getting braces and a walker, and I will be able to walk again. Here within the next couple weeks, I'm assuming, if the insurance goes through and everything goes as planned. And my goal for this time next year is to walk a 5K.
Man, I don't even know what to say about that. That's absolutely that's inspirational to the max, man. That's I couldn't do that. I'm not that mentally tough. I know I couldn't, man. Like
no, you could, because it goes back to that old saying, when your back's against the wall and you have to do it, you don't know
that's a good point.
The strength that you have until you're confronted with something like that.
But it is, but you don't have to. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to you don't have to do the 5K, but you're just challenging yourself like that. That's very impressive to me.
Well, thank you. And one other thing, I forgot to kind of mention through the whole LA fitness journey was I just kind of tried to document my journey a little bit, and I started something on Instagram and Facebook called HandicapableFitness, and my whole goal with that was to not only post videos of myself, but find videos and stories of other people that are faced with challenges, but don't let that get in the way. Whether it's a military veteran who's gotten, their legs and arms blown off in combat, or somebody that has autism. So many people come up to me and say, James, you know what, you're such an inspiration to me. And for a while, I handled it graciously and always said thank you. But for me, I was like, how do these people see that I'm an inspiration? I just joined the gym because I was a fat ass and I needed to do something about it. But then I took a step back.
Sorry.
Then I took a step back and I was like, well, hold up a second. Nobody expects somebody in a wheelchair to come rolling up in this gym and start lifting weights and doing the things I'm doing. And that kind of gave me a whole new perspective on it. And I said to myself, well, if me doing what I'm doing can help somebody else out, that's what it's all about. And that's kind of my life's mission. I mean, Eric, you brought it up before, that everything happens for a reason. If I didn't go out to California, I wouldn't have gotten introduced to the healthy eating.
Yep.
And now my life's mission, I feel, is to help others. Me posting my videos on this Instagram and Facebook pages isn't for me to get a pat on the back. It's to show other people who are in wheelchairs or have disabilities that, hey, you know what? You can do this. Yes, you might not be able to do it the way that somebody else can do it, but there is a way for you to do it. And also, my goal with it is to open up a whole new avenue for the quote-unquote normal people, because I feel as though, there's a thing going on right now where if somebody sees somebody in a wheelchair or disability or just look different or whatever, they won't go up to them, and a lot of people say, oh, well, this person's being, kind of a jerk because they're not going to come up and talk to me. I don't think it's that. Of course, you're going to run into those jerks from time to time, but at the same time, I think it's almost more of the fear of the unknown. So if by somebody having an interaction with me, if that can kind of change their perspective, and kind of break the ice a little bit, that to me is me doing my job. And
James, and that I want to touch on that real quick, because I'm at a point where I've gained a little bit of weight. I'm trying to find ways to be active, and even the whole thing that Eric talked about, oh, you heard, because I fight this as well, like, oh, I heard somebody had tore their ACL playing pickup soccer, and it was like the fear. I'm gonna be real, Diddy. Like, the fear in my mind of like that actually happening was, kind of scary. Like, I would hate for it to happen on something stupid, but then I'm like, I kind of took myself out of the situation. I'm like, listen, like, I need to get active. Like, it's a fun way for me to do something. I can't let the fear of that possibly happening, which can happen, you know, I know it's an increased risk, but, you know, that could happen anywhere, you know, playing whatever. And it's like, you can't let the fear of the unknown, whether it be an injury or like what you were talking about, going up and talking to someone, because that might be a great interaction. And I was telling you the story of the girl that I walked up to at the gym that I introduced myself to, that was, you know, she also had CP, and it was an awesome interaction. We've actually kept in touch, have her number, and, you know, we've talked, and you know, you just don't know, and you don't want to not do something based off of the fear of that one jerk that you may walk up to, and he or she may not be as receptive to you just introducing yourself, just like you would if you were trying to pick up a hot girl at the grocery store. Like, okay, there she is. She may say no. She may have a boyfriend. She may be married. Like, you could go through all these reasons in your head why you don't want to go say hi to her, rather than just go and say, hey, what's your name? Like, hey, how are you? Just saying something, you know what I mean? And not worrying about it, and then letting the experience dictate that. Well, sorry, I have a boyfriend. You're really nice, but sorry. You know, and I find myself doing that, and you know, hearing some of that stuff that you talk about really continues to, like, cement in my brain that I can't let the fear of the unknown keep me from doing something.
That's 100% right. And, you know, even me being in a wheelchair, you know, and being faced with the challenges that I'm particularly faced with, I find myself, you know, kind of in the same situation that you are a little bit sometimes, where I don't want to go up to talk to somebody, you know, that may be in a wheelchair or might have different challenges, and then I kind of have to take a step back and smack myself in the head and just say, you know what, no, go up and talk to them and stuff like that, because you know what, you just have to do it, you know. But the hard line that I walk is that, you know, I'm very open. People can come up to me, ask me any sort of question. There's nothing off limits. I'll even make, you know, kind of a demeaning handicap joke towards myself. Never towards anybody else. So I almost have to, like, walk that line and say, okay, even though I'm open about this situation, it may affect somebody else a little bit different. But nonetheless, I still go up there and I still try to talk to them and engage them in a conversation.
Well, so I have to confess, I haven't told this to either of you, all right? I haven't told this to either of you, so it's live on the podcast right now. But it's funny we're talking about this, because I think it was the week before we actually got in contact, the week before you DM'd me, I saw you at the gym working with Ken. I've seen you at the gym working with Ken. And I said to myself, motherfucking God, this guy is an inspiration. I shit you not, I said to myself in my head, I'd love to have someone like this on the podcast. This is what we're talking about. And I was like, I'd love to go up to him and talk to him, but what you were just saying right there, you know? So I was like, nah, I don't, and I made the excuse in my head of, I don't want to bother the guy, he's working out, you know? So I didn't, you know, I didn't, but I've talked to Ken, and I'm like, Ken, you know, and he had told me, you know, your name is James and everything, and I was like, dude, that guy's a friggin' inspiration right there, you know? So I talked to Ken about you, but I had my chance. I chickened out to go talk to you. I think it's at least been twice now. It was 2 times. So it's funny how things work out. But yes, I confess, I had kind of one of those moments too where I could have went up and talked to you, but I didn't.
It's all good, you know, because here I am now, and you know, I think that this is gonna turn into a great friendship between the 3 of us.
Definitely.
And it's just one of those things that, and I have to commend you though, in the sense that, one, being honest and just saying, you know, hey, I myself had that fear when it came to you, because not many people would admit that, for one, but 2, you also did a great thing, because you went up to Ken and you kind of found out some background information, and you kind of got a feel for my personality to say, is it cool that I ask him questions? And that's kind of that's kind of sometimes that's what we have to do. Not just with the disabled community, but people in general.
I agree.
You know, it's kind of like when you want to ask that girl out in school, and you ask a friend, hey, you know, can you go up and talk to her friend to see if she's interested, type of thing. You know.
That's actually, yeah, that's really, really wise. Yeah, that's
a great point, man.
You know, but asking people that are related or in that circle, you know, is a great way to get information on somebody before going up and introducing yourself, because it can take away the nerves, because you almost feel once you do that you know that person a little bit, you know, and it kind of takes away those butterflies of, okay, how is this person gonna react a little bit. It's kind, you know, it's kind of sketchy, I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time it's kind of useful too.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of my story. And you know, one other thing, and it's a really cool thing, I've now gotten involved with this organization called Warriors of Purpose. And how that all started was somebody that I met at LA Fitness, Rodney Lavoie. He was on season 30 of Survivor. And he came up to me at LA Fitness kind of saying, you know, hey, I was on Survivor, this and that, but you never know who it is that you meet at the gym, and, you know, what credibility that they may or may not have. You know, so I was like, yeah, okay, you know. So I went home, kind of did some research, and come to find out, everything that he said was legit. And we kind of kept in contact, and he ended up coming up to me saying, you know, this is my story of I lost my sister to a drug overdose a couple weeks before I went on Survivor. I came off of Survivor, and now my lifelong mission is to educate people about substance abuse and mental health issues such as anxiety, that sort of thing. But would you kind of get involved and handle the inspirational speaking to cater to people in wheelchairs or people with disabilities? So that's another cool thing that this fitness lifestyle has given me, is that it's opened me up to so many people and so many different opportunities. And again, I want to reiterate this and make sure I drive this point home. This isn't about me. This whole Handicapable Fitness thing isn't about me. You know, yes, it's great, and I want people to follow along on my journey, but if I can help one person, you know, get to where they gotta go, or how you guys say it, you know, find their greatness, then I've done my job. You know, and I'm only where I'm at today because of my faith, first and foremost, my family, and trainers like Ken, the trainer that I had at LA Fitness. If these people, my teacher, if these people didn't take the time and invest in me, then I would not be anywhere near where I am today. So I want to make sure that they get their credit, you know, and if I can help somebody else out, that to me is what it's all about.
That's awesome.
I love it.
And, you know, it seems like, too, you know, you having CP and stuff, it's and being in a situation and, you know, having the mentality and the thought process and just keep driving forward and being positive, that's actually created opportunities for you, right? I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe down the road, you know, you're making a living going around talking, motivating other people as you kind of been helping your other trainer out with that WOP program you just talked about. Maybe that's maybe that's what you do for a living when you get older. But it wouldn't be that. You wouldn't have the opportunities if you weren't so positive. You know, as it kind of said in the introduction, you could have this negative outlook, and you could feel sorry for yourself, and you could just stay. No, you're doing the opposite. You're out, you're active, and it's presenting opportunities to you.
Absolutely, and I'm totally grateful for that. But let me hit on that point too. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't have days to where I say, "Oh shit, my life sucks," or I never say my life sucks, but I'm an athlete, at heart. I'm an athlete.
No, everyone's an athlete. You're an athlete.
And I was never able to hit that game-winning home run or score that game-winning goal, So I sometimes do have thoughts of, oh man, it would be so stinking cool to be able to do that. But at the same time, that just wasn't in the cards for me, and again, I hate to keep reiterating it and going back to it, but that's what this fitness lifestyle has given me, because now I'm able to go to the gym. I'm never going to be the biggest, never going to be the strongest guy in the gym, but I'm able to do things and compete with myself and get those competitive juices out. To say, hey, you know what? When you first started this, 10 pounds is heavy. Now you're moving on to 20, 30, and I'm doing things that I never thought were possible, and it's allowing me to get those competitive juices out. But again, I have those days to where I'm like, man, you know what? I really wish I didn't have this. I wish I could be quote unquote normal. But it literally is just a drop in the bucket. I sit there and say, okay, well, yeah, you wish you could have this, but again, going back to what I said earlier, there's so many different levels of CP, and there's so many levels of, other disabilities that are much, much worse than I have it. So what? I can't use my left arm and my legs are a little weak. That means I have one good arm and two alright working legs. So you know what? Let's make the best of it. Let's make this happen.
It's an awesome outlook, man. That's the reason why you are where you are right now with that outlook and that positivity, 100%. And I gotta say, you're definitely an inspiration. I'm not crying about anything anymore. Just because
exactly
your outlook and the way you go about your daily life, and you don't see yourself as being disabled. You're just another person, and that's how you live your life. So I definitely commend that, look up to that, and it's very inspirational to me. And it's definitely, when I started meeting you, hearing your story right now and the other day, and just it's definitely changed my life 100%. It's definitely changed my life for the good. So
well, that's awesome, and again, I really do appreciate that, and that was kind of like my whole goal. But this Handicapable Fitness thing has also done so much for me, because going back a couple months ago, I was working at Boyle's and I posted this video, and I posted it I post every day, try to post something, and I posted this one particular video. It got a couple likes or whatever, and I'm like, okay, are people kind of getting sick of what I'm doing here?
Listen, I just want to stop right there for a sec. Don't ever, no, I'm serious, don't ever think that, because I'm telling you right now, you post as much as you can with the stuff you're doing. Your page is so inspirational, okay? You just keep at it, and you're gonna catch your huge break. I can guarantee you. Don't ever think that nobody is getting sick of that. Like, anybody in their right mind, when they look at your page, they just get absolutely inspired to shit. And they just want to jump out of their seat and run through a goddamn brick wall, man. Seriously. So don't ever think that.
Well, thank you for saying that. But I'm just being 100% transparent. I did have that kind of thought process. It was like, okay, is this getting old to people? Like, okay, dude, we get it. You're handicapped. You work out. Like, that's great. Like, what do you want us to do? Type of thing. But going back to that video I posted in March, just probably about a couple months ago, I get all these Facebook notifications on my phone. And what had happened was a cerebral palsy group had gotten a hold of that video from March and like just started sharing it. And all of a sudden, it just kind of took on a life of its own. And now I'm having people DM me through Instagram, Facebook, saying, hey, my son, my daughter, my niece, my nephew have cerebral palsy, or they have another disability. But seeing you do what you're doing is giving me hope. And to me, that's what it's all about.
It's awesome.
Really, it's like it blows my mind when I get a Facebook message like that. I just got one the other day. This guy says, my son's 5 years old and he has CP, but I show him your videos every day just to show him what he could be capable of. Like, how do you respond to something like that? Obviously, you handle it gracefully, but at the same time, you're like, holy crap, this is awesome right here, And again, that's why I started this whole Handicapable Fitness thing, because I want to show people, like, hey, just because the doctor screwed up, because a lot of times that's what it is, it's doctor screwing up or happens at birth, but just because something doesn't go like we had planned, doesn't mean that you gotta give up and say, okay, well, I didn't become Steph Curry, or I didn't get that promotion, so I guess I'm gonna go do something else. No, you just gotta keep moving, keep progressing, and life is gonna throw you curveballs. You just have to adapt and say, okay, what's next? It goes back to a previous podcast that you guys did, find your why. And Tom, I heard you say on the podcast that you're in the midst of a career change. And I commend you for doing that, because people don't have the balls to say, okay, well, I want to do something else. In this society, our society is so caught up with, okay, you're 40-something, or you get to a particular age, and you can't, you all of a sudden have to just do whatever you're doing, or people say, okay, well, I have to go to college. No, you don't. And college is a great thing, and don't get me wrong, it has its purpose, and people gain things from it, obviously. But just because you didn't do what everybody says that you should do, that doesn't mean that you can't be successful. So I encourage anybody, if you have a dream, you go out there, you do it. And for the people that say, oh, you can't do it, or oh, are you crazy? Why are you doing that? use that as motivation, because that's what I do. That's one of the things I do. The doctors told me, okay, he has CP. We don't even know if he's gonna live. But if he does live, we don't know the quality of life he's gonna have. So just be prepared. And that's one of the things that motivates me, because, I could have been 100% reliant upon other people, but I'm not. So I gotta wake up every day and push on. And there's gonna be people have said it to me. Oh, great, you've gotten to this point, but you're not gonna be able to get to the next point. Oh yeah, watch me, it's gonna happen.
I like that.
Yep.
I like that attitude. That's awesome. That's great.
So just keep fighting and doing what you have to do, and do what makes you happy.
Dude, he just said the magic word, Tom.
Yeah. Yep.
Happy. I like that.
That's what of course, money helps, but you know, it's not all about the money, because I'll tell you something right now. I'm not rich, but man, the feeling that I get every day just by people coming up to me saying, "Hey, I saw your Instagram post," or, "You know what, you really helped me." There's no better feeling than helping somebody else out. Again, it goes back to that podcast that you guys did just a couple weeks ago. Give, give, give. That is the best advice that anybody can give, because there's no better feeling than that. You know, so if I can give you guys inspiration and your listeners inspiration, that is what it's all about.
Man, I'm humbled, man. Humbled, grateful. I don't know what else to say other than just thanks, man. I really appreciate you coming on here, and you know, I know you've helped me, and I know you said if you help one person, you know, it's a success. So I'm really hoping that we can push this out, you know, to the social media networks, and really, you know, hopefully more than one person. I really think this has been a gem of a podcast for us, and I'm excited to get it, you know, mixed up and put out there. So
I definitely think by far, no questions asked, hands down, no brainer, it's been our best one yet. 100%, man.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. So
thanks again for having me, and again, I'm sure they'll put the links down below or in the description for my pages in particular.
Definitely.
Yeah.
If anybody needs any sort of help, you know, advice, I'm not a doctor, you know, but I do have a leather couch you can come lay on. But no, seriously, again, like, if I can help somebody else out, whether it be just give my crappy nutrition tips, or you know, different types of workouts, or just want to be in contact, need a friend, you know, then that's what it's all about. You know, Tom, my question to you is, I have a question. You said you went up to that girl in the gym. What'd she look like?
She's hey, I'm telling you, she might be a little older than you, but I will I'll get back in contact with her and get a picture, and I'll send it your way, because I think it'd be it's definitely not a bad looking girl. I'll be honest with you.
Hey, age is just a number, man. Age is just a number, and I mean, imagine the seats we can get at a Red Sox game or a Tar Heels game with us both being handicapped. So
yeah, no,
a match made in heaven.
We got to keep that. Definitely keep that on the radar, and we'll get, that'd be awesome to get you down here. Or maybe if I get up there, and we'll all, you know, meet up and do something. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely, and thanks.
Even though I don't support, you know, the Patriots, and we won't get into the sports talks right now.
Buddy, the Bills, are they going to make the playoffs this year, or what? Like, come on.
I fucking hope so. I fucking hope so.
Who's their coach? They fired Rex Ryan?
Their new coach is McDermott. Yeah, Sean McDermott. So
it doesn't matter.
I might need to take you up on that couch offer, James.
No, thanks again, guys, for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
No. The pleasure's ours. The honor's ours, man.
And obviously, awesome. Diddy, if you want to do our weekly shout out, thank you, and then we can tell everybody kind of how to find James, which we will put in the description, obviously. But
wait, we got Grinder.
Oh! How could I forget? I can't believe I forgot. I'll let you hammer it out. You go. You go.
Sure?
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, it's a no-brainer. Grinder of the week, my man sitting to the right over here, James Norris.
Thank you.
I mean, he's, again, I could sit here for an hour and just express my emotions and my thoughts on everything we just talked about. He's an absolute amazing human being. You know, he definitely, as I said before, he's definitely inspired me, and he's definitely changed my life. And I'm very happy and excited I ran into him, and I know he's got big things to come in the future with his fitness goals and everything he's trying to pursue. And that 5K, I know you're gonna crush that in a year. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart and Tom's too, we're really thankful and happy that you came on. So
much appreciated, guys.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate it. I don't think I'm doing anything special, but like I said, if it can help out one person, I just thank you guys for kind of giving me the vessel to put it out there. And I realize I didn't explain everything as clear as I would hope, but through those pages and my blog, you can obviously find out more. But I just really appreciate.
We'll put that up too. We'll put your Instagram, the blog, everything up, so everybody can take.
Yeah, no worries. That's the beauty of how we do the podcast. Is we obviously as organic as possible, and there's probably things if you listen to it back again, you'll be like, oh, I wish I would have added that, but we 100% plan on keeping in touch with you, following up, and then who knows, we might do another version or a follow up or whatever. So we'll keep that in the back of our minds.
Awesome. Well, again, I appreciate it, and thank you guys for giving me that vessel to get those things out that I've talked about.
Tom,
no problem, James. Yeah, and my grinder of the week, a fellow long lost cousin of Chuck Norris, a guy by the name of James Norris. And no, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, we always do the grind of the week, and honestly, Diddy and I, before we talked, we said, we're gonna just combine this and just literally give it to James, and we always try to honor and just shout somebody out, because I think it's important to see examples of people that are not at the pinnacle of where they may want to be at, but at that maybe beginning stage, or they've gone through some shit and they're at that kind of in-between stage. And I think that's the biggest thing for us to highlight, is people that are, showing kind of those intangible values of, hard work and, just an honesty about their journey, and not sugarcoating things if they're in a really, really tough spot, highlighting that, because that's where the inspiration comes from. That's where the stories are made in some of those tough times. And, James, I think we've said it enough. We've said it many times. I personally want to thank you for coming on. And, for me, it really, I think it symbolizes what we're trying to do. Even though we're just starting, I think, it was really exciting for me to talk about a story that is the, kind of just the identical or the ideal story that we want to highlight. So that to me is the definition of grinder of the week, and I think you've basically earned that. And I know you're going to continue to earn it through the goals that you've set for yourself. They've motivated me to I got to get back. And I haven't been to a gym in a while, but I'm like, it's still good to go to a gym to get, there's nothing better than lifting weights. I mean, for me, even I'm doing all these little, pickup street hockey, pickup soccer, great for cardio, but I got to get my strength back. So you've motivated me to get back at it.
Well, thank you. And that's the thing. Everybody thinks that okay, well, I have to get back in the gym. I have to, do what society says is a fitness lifestyle. But one thing I agree with a bunch of things that you guys have said, but one thing you hit on the Instagram story yesterday was just getting out and doing something for 10 or 15 minutes, because I didn't lose 60 plus pounds in 10 minutes. I lost it over time and making little changes, and that's one thing I think that everybody needs to realize is, no matter what your goal is, just take a little bit of time to work at it. Even if it's just 10 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, it's still a step forward in the right direction. And that's why I want to encourage you, Tom, because just go and do something. So this soccer and this pickup hockey that you're playing, that's helping you get back into better shape, and that's gonna help your mind which I think is
It's already
more
has, yeah,
important.
100%. Yep, that's exactly right.
More important than anything. So just for anybody out there, just do something for 5-10 minutes, and just know that those 5-10 minutes are gonna add up over time, and that's how we become successful.
Boom.
Awesome.
I think we just nail it on the head right there and just end it. Just Mike, just drop the snowball, Mike, over there.
That would, not without saying though, just as you said on the Instagram, really fast. Listeners, people that tune in and listen to this, we can't thank you enough. As Tom said on the Instagram today, if you follow us, giving us the one thing in your life that you can never get back. If you listen to this the last hour, we really appreciate it. That's an hour that you have sat down and you've listened to the podcast, and you can't get that back. So we really appreciate that, and we're very thankful, and we can't say it enough. We appreciate everyone that listens, and again, we're hoping that James's story, which I'm definitely going to go out on a limb and say that it definitely has, to whoever listens to this, helps somebody. And, we'll put the links up and stuff in the Instagram if you want to get a hold of him. Shoot him a DM, shoot him a message. We'll put his blog. We'll put up the link to his blog, too, if you want to read that. So.
And also, one more thing, if I can ask for a shameless plug. Warriors of Purpose, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're doing big things too. So if we could just show them some love, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And James, real quick, just tell people what your. I know we said it a bunch of times, but just say it real quick. Your Instagram and where they can find you, and we'll be able to link that up as well. And just tell everyone where your profile is.
Okay, on Facebook, it's just HandicapableFitness, HANDI space capable space fitness. On Instagram, it's HANDI_fitness or capable_fitness.
Yep.
So that's where they'll be able to find me, and if anybody gets in contact with me, I'm more than willing to respond. So
good deal.
Let's do this.
Awesome.
Thank you, James, so much, man. Really, really, really appreciate it. So, guys, it's been a blast. I know we've gone. We normally say, hey, we're going to keep it to a half hour, but I think Eric and I discussed, we're like, we're not going to put a constraint on this. So we have gone longer. We hope you kept along. I think it was, interesting enough for you to kind of keep your ear on it for another 30 minutes. So we appreciate it. I know everybody has 1,300 things they could be doing other than, listening to our podcast, but, just much love to everybody. So thank you.
Awesome.
All right, guys, you want to sign her off?
Sounds good. You take care.
Yep, take care.
Awesome.
See you, bud.
All right, see you guys. Bye.